And now some questions about the performing.
Mhm.
Do you still feel some, or have you ever felt blocking stage fright before performing? If yes, how did you solve it?
Blocking stage fright. Well, what I do, some shows are very exciting for sure. Like we just recently played at the Donington Festival in the UK. It was like for 80,000 people. It's a ridiculous number, you know. It's like, how do you play for 80,000 people? So you have to be able to deal with that feeling somehow. So what I do is a few different things. Often from a musical level, I'll sit with my keyboard and I'll turn on like a metronome at a very kind of easy pace and just really focus in and play easy things, just right as close to the beat as I can, because I find that to be a very grounding type of thing to do, right? So it both warms up my fingers a little bit and it also kind of keeps me still.
Yeah.
Even if like John Petrucci is, the guitar player, is practicing with a metronome and I'm sitting and he's playing in this very steady way, it's helpful. It's a weird thing, but it does work. It's almost like you're being trained secondhand, you know. But besides that, to do some breathing and maybe some like stretching or yoga type things, or I studied some Tai Chi, so to incorporate some of that type of thinking before the show. Anything that's possible. You know, some of these environments are so crazy also. It's not always possible to be doing like a full yoga set on the floor before the show, because it might be in a little trailer or something like that. But something, just to steady the mind and say, you know what, it doesn't matter this, you know, whatever number of people, just gonna focus because this is all we are, and you know, you have to keep it together. Sometimes actually on stage, I'll be involved in something very complex, or a part will come up that's hard, then I'll look over to like John or to Mike, and it's comforting and brings things back, because I'll see that their focus is very strong, and it kind of keeps you from going, you know, losing it. So, okay, my teammates are also composed about this, and we're just doing our thing. It's interesting.
Yeah. How tiring is performing? Are you tired at the end of the shows, or the opposite, excited? Yeah,
you know what? It depends. Every show is a little bit different. Some of the shows here in Europe have been a little bit difficult, only because we've been playing a lot of these big places, but they don't have much thought about the air, like just any air conditioning. Sometimes it's very hot, so I'll sit there dripping wet, which right away is like, this is not fun. You know, it's tiring. This is hard to be sitting up here sweating.
Yeah.
And then some places, you know, there's smoking in the audience. You know, it's not the easiest thing, so that bothers me a lot as well. So it all depends on the nature of the gig. If it's, you know, I can get through it just with excitement and joy, if the conditions are right that allow me to connect with my music and with my bandmates and project, you know, positive energy. But sometimes it's like, oh, you know, there's things that kind of hammer on you and weigh you down a little bit. You know, sweating like a pig can do it.
Nice.
Yeah, right.
Now, people like very much what Dream Theater is doing. Are you satisfied with yourselves, or you are criticizing yourselves after the show? I mean, reviewing every moment.
Well, we're perfectionists for sure. We like everything. That's what Dream Theater is. We like everything to go right. We like to play one song and then immediately be ready and start the next. We like to bing, 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 bing. Things are dialed in together, go, and you know, there not to be any problems. It's not a loose, you know, rock and roll drinking band or whatever. It's a very organized, you know, band, and we definitely, if something does go wrong in anybody's world, guitar world, keyboard world, we'll talk about it, try to understand what it is, fix it, and have it go better the next time.
Okay. Besides concentrating, do you or can you think about anything else on stage? And do you have a special method to memorize what you have to play, or is it just a lot of practice until you know it all?
It's a real combination. Well, what helps me when I'm on stage, and I think what a good recommendation to our viewers, is that when you're on stage and you're trying to, you know, get through a piece of music, it's very, very important to stay in the moment. You know, because if let's say you memorize something, you're sitting there playing it, but all of a sudden you start to worry about what's going to happen 8 bars ahead. That's going to mess you up. That's when you'll make a mistake, when you're starting to think about, do I know what's coming up in 8 bars or in 16 bars, start to worry about it. It's exactly when it happens. You know, I've played with enough musicians and we all finally realize that's what it is. So what I do to avoid that is I'll almost like stay with the moment by singing to myself. You know, either like literally humming if, you know, nobody can hear me in a rock show. I'll just be right there, just right on the, you know, right where I am. And that way I avoid, you know, thinking about the other stuff or going back, or that's very dangerous stuff. But of course, you know, we're human beings and all of our minds wander and things happen. The other thing, I mean, that's works, that doesn't mess you up necessarily, is if your mind is wandering freely. That can sometimes work too. The problem is when you're worried about what you're doing. So if you're nervous, a lot of times a performer will think about what he's doing and go forward or backwards. That's bad. If you're just playing and you're thinking about the beach somewhere, or you're thinking about a lovely day you had on a drive, it's no problem, because then the music just flows. Music is very transient. It's something that just kind of seems to pass through our minds from wherever. And if we're open to it like that, you know, that can work. It's fun.
Okay. Yeah, too many questions. You are a kind and calm person. You have friendly atmosphere around you. What makes you angry?
It's hard to get me angry. It really is. And even if I'm angry, I'm not.
Questions, man.
It's hard to. I don't know. If you know, people who know me think that I never get angry. Of course, you know, for those kind of people, it's more kind of internal and maybe just a feeling. It doesn't get expressed in the same way as somebody who you could say is an angry guy.
Is there a spiritual background behind it that helps you to be who you are?
Well, a little bit, yeah. I mean, not in a religious sense, but in more of a kind of like metaphysical sense. Things like what I was saying before, like connecting with things like Tai Chi or yoga. Music, that's a big part of it.
Any musical style you dislike?
Well, I like all music. I get bothered a little bit by like certain kinds of jazz music that when they're so focused on the notes that they're not thinking about the sound they're making. A lot of times I don't want to say anything bad about any style, but a lot of times in certain music, not even jazz, other types, whenever people are thinking just about the notes they're playing and not listening to the sound they're making, then I have a problem with it. Then it bothers me, because I'm very, very sensitive to sound, and I can't avoid it. So, you know, I don't care about so much like what note you're in a C scale and all of a sudden you're playing a passing tone, and who cares? It's about what is the sound, you know, for me. So.
Do you listen to a lot of music, or you prefer the silence?
I like both. I listen to a lot of different kinds of music. Actually, some of my favorite music these days is some of the electronic music that people are doing. Some of the things like coming from the Aphex Twin, Autiker, School of Thought, Boards of Canada, where they're, you know, kind of like taking sound and really sculpting it very carefully, and the sonic experience is really well thought out, and you can tell that every single sound you heard is this very refined, you know, artwork. I like that a lot.
And finally, do you have a message to the Hungarian audience?
To the Hungarian audience, my message is it's great to be back here. It's really fun. It's fun to be able to come back and to be able to play and share the music, and yeah.
Okay.